1950s, people were in the same professions as their parents. So they followed what their parents did. They knew that element like they knew a family member. They knew how long to soak it, how long to bake it, how to carve it, because they'd been doing it for generations. Hello everyone, I am so sorry it's taken me so long to come back and do this video. So as you see, it's again not very fancy and there's no fancy light. I just have a new lavalier mic, so I hope the sound is okay this time. I wanted to start those educational series, and I have a list of things that I want to cover with regards to writing papers, doing research, developing ideas. But as I was developing that, I thought, the first thing that we need to talk about is mentorship. That mentorship is very important no matter what profession it is. If we talk of a career, not a job, job means you can keep doing a little bit here, there. Career, as opposed to job, means you are known for something, you're an expert, and it's satisfying to you, and is also contributing to the world in a larger sense. Not that job doesn't, but career it becomes specific. It's almost the concept that I want to explore later on, called wadharma, which means it's something that is particular to you, that you're interested in, and that you want to develop. So swadharma, and swadharma basically means knowing your innate ability and interest. It's not just ability, because you could be good at something but you're not really interested in it. It's a combination of having a certain ability and interest. Once you follow that, there's no limit to what you can achieve and how you can be of service. Why do we need mentors? So now, this is not necessarily based on deep research, but from my understanding, I would say that, even until like World War II, after World War II, like 1950s, people actually just did the same jobs, what their parents did. So they followed what their parents did. As a result, they were trained into a profession. They actually understood a profession. I always say that, if there was a person, a family working in leather or metal or say clay, they knew that element like they knew a family member. They knew how long to soak it, how long to bake it, how to carve it, because they'd been doing it for generations. Sadly, a lot of us don't get to that level. We just do what we find, and so we have a lot of choice these days, which is both a blessing and a curse, because having a lot of choice also means that we've been given this idea that we can do anything, but what that anything is never clear to us. I have a very fond memory of a young boy I met when I was starting my graduate school in the US. He must have been around 10, and I remember asking him what he wanted to do, what he wanted to become when he grew up, and he said he wanted to be a football player. And because I spent a lot of time with students, and I was like, well, what if you don't become a football player? What will you do then? He thought for a few seconds and he said, then I'll be a surgeon. And I was smiling, because both the professions, both the areas, whether you want to be a football player or a surgeon, require a different kind of training. Of course, a lot of stamina in both, but also different kinds of training, and they're equally, they're far apart. Only a child who doesn't understand, that these two professions require such different training can say, well, I want to be either a football player or a surgeon. Going back to when I was talking about mentorship, is that a mentor can actually guide you when you are pursuing ideas that require so much energy that you can be scattered. You can have natural mentors. Say, for example, you follow a profession that your parents are in. Your parents are a doctor, you become a doctor, you want to be a doctor. You get a lot of understanding just by being around them. First of all, you will be familiar with a lot of content because your parents will be talking to you about medicine, biology, human physiology, anatomy, just because that's their profession. You would also understand the hours they have to spend, and the amount of work that goes in being a doctor. So when you're growing up, you can either admire and say simply, well, this is what I want to be, in which case, you have a ready-made mentors right in the family, or you can still learn from it and say, well, this is not what I want. That's not the kind of life I want. And I know a lot of people who actually were when they were younger, they were actually inspired by what their parents wanted to do. But as they started to get into those professions, they said, well, this is not for me because I really don't like late nights, or I want a regular 9-to-5 job, or I want to be a school teacher instead. But what's happening in this process is you have noticed somebody going through a profession, and you've noticed somebody actually following lifestyle of certain profession, and then you decide whether you want it or not. That's one way. Another way is saying, well, I really want this because I am good at it, I like it, I want to serve people through medicine. I'm just giving you an example of medicine. It could be any profession. And I understand the difficulties, but I still want to pursue it. Okay? Even in that case, you're actually deciding simply that knowledge has simply come because you have, parents who are in a profession that you were considering. In my case, and in a lot of people's cases today, we didn't go into the professions that our parents were in. And even though I have most of my career, I've been an academic, and it sort of happened in a roundabout way, because my interest was media, and I was interested in telling stories. Ever since I was a child, even when I was studying for PMT, which is pre-medical exams, I used to think, I'm going to tell stories, I'm going to make movies even after I become a doctor, which today seems stupid. In fact, not only that, even when I was doing my PhD, I thought somehow I will involve movie making on the side. It's taken me years to understand you can write a book alone, but you cannot make a movie alone. I mean, there's exceptions always, and I know one or two people who've done that, but that's not something you can continue. It's been a difficult journey to get to understand that. Now, as you see on this channel, I make short films. They're not like major films that I thought, but this is my swadharma. I know I love telling stories. And coming back to mentorship again, mentors are important because they have done what you want to do, or they are where you want to be. They know the rigors, they know the pathways, they know the ropes, and just by being in their presence, you can get guidance. That's obvious. There's something else mentors can do. They can connect you to a group of people, a contact, a community of people in the same area. In my case, I didn't get that, but one of the reasons was that I hopped around a lot. I moved from one country to the other. So when I moved from US to Fiji, I just almost, fell out of the academic community. I would say that my best academic community has come in Sweden, and that was my first experience of actually having kind of an academic community where we sat and discussed ideas and books. In fact, some of the friends started a club where 3-4 of us would actually read a book and then discuss, which was really, really interesting. But not having that academic community can actually lead to isolation. So if you are thinking of being in academia, you need a community, people you would actually engage in ideas with, or people you would collaborate with. So mentors can basically help you with a few things. One is obviously they connect you with the content. They can tell you about a field, an area of research, and they can connect you to the history of the topic, trajectory of different ideas, scholars, and also take you under their tutelage and actually guide you in a certain path. They also connect you to an academic community or community of people who are in that particular profession. And in that sense, they become very important. I don't think it is possible to truly be a success. You know how people talk about, I'm a self-made person, this, that, or the other. As I say, exceptions always exist, but all of us need mentors. Before you get a mentor, you need to ask yourselves, why are you doing a degree? Why are you doing this degree? If you've already done it, why did you do it? What was that excited you? Why did you choose a certain area? For me, I knew I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to make films. That was very clear since I was a child. I knew that. It didn't happen the way I wanted it because I went into academia, and I also know that I love teaching. Teaching was a combination of performance, sort of storytelling, and ideas, and in that sense it was beneficial to me. But I've always craved telling stories. That was my interest. And you need to ask yourselves. So for example, you are in, I would say you did an undergraduate in sociology. Ask yourselves, why did you do it? What was the reason? If you don't know, the second question to ask is, was there something that was exciting about it? What was that? However, if you did a degree and you didn't enjoy it at all, then you need to go and ask yourselves again, what do I want to do with my beautiful life? I think the good question to ask is, how can I serve? What excites you? Once you have that idea, so let me say, give an example of, if you want to be in academia, you want to be as quote unquote scholar, you will need to actually narrow down to an idea, a particular area of interest. Based on that, say whether it's media, sociology, philosophy, based on that is when you start to say, okay, what do I want from a mentor? What am I looking for? So it's not just that somebody becomes your mentor, but it's also what you expect from a mentor. In closing, I will say something. In closing, I will add something here. Supervisor, advisors can be mentors, but they're not always. If you're lucky, you can get a combination. However, a mentor doesn't always supervise, but he provides you a vision. It helps you create a vision that is best suited to who you are. If you're watching this, I would like you to comment and share some of your ideas. What kind of research do you want to get into? Are you an undergraduate student who's considering graduate school? Or if you already have a PhD and you're asking yourselves what to do with it, you need to define what you want out of life. One thing I will end with is that remember, these days nobody stays in the same job, and sometimes not even the same profession for all their lives. If you're young, remember you can always try out 2 or 3 professions in a lifetime. Ask yourselves, how would you want to serve the world? And then we will talk about how to go about mentoring ourselves, because sometimes we're not lucky. How would we mentor ourselves, especially in academia? So I'll talk about that next time. Thank you, and sorry it took so long. I will try and come back more often. Hi,